Hi, and welcome back to the Empty Room Sessions. My name is James Reardon, and essentially this is an empty room. There's no one here. It's just me, and it's a camera, because for this teaching today, I just want to speak straight to you. Like if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, I'm just speaking some words to you, and I just want to give you a challenge. In about 22 or 23 minutes, I'm going to unpack something that you and I both struggle with, that you and I both know about, and at the end, I'm going to give you a question that's going to challenge you, or a question that maybe you can wrestle with for a little while, a question that you can apply to your life. And in the middle of that, I'm going to give you a sticky statement, one big idea that you can mull over and put into you and internalize and be like, that's true, that's good, and I need to know that. But the crux of this teaching that we're going to look at for the next few moments is about life, and it's about death. And we're going to be looking at life, what it means to truly be alive, and to be dead, and what it means to be dead, like what it feels like to be dead. We're going to be looking at those two things and how you and I are somewhere over here, or we're somewhere over here. And there's no middle ground. We're here or we are here. And we're going to find it in the book of Philippians. We're going to be in chapter 3. It's written by a guy named Paul. And we're going to kind of look about what he talks about life and what he talks about death. But before we get in there, I want to tell you, we're in the middle of this series called Billboard. And it's basically about the messages that are billboarded to us, and in turn the messages that we are billboarding to the world, that we are broadcasting to the world, that we're talking about to the world. And even like Billboard magazine, broadcasts messages to us about the songs that we should be listening to. They're saying, hey, these are the Hot 100 songs on the radio today. These are the songs you should know about. And then they have this whole chart. Billboard magazine has this whole chart about the top 500 songs of all time, or the top 100 songs of all time. And so we're going to look at both of those. We're going to look at the messages that we're billboarding, the messages that we should be billboarding, and we're kind of looking at the messages that Billboard billboards to us. I just said the word billboard a whole lot, didn't I? Crazy, right? But the song I want to look at, there's a song in particular I want to look at. It was written in the 1970s by two guys in England. And basically, it's Bernie Taupin, he's one of the writers of it. He said this, he said that the song is about the idea of fame or youth or somebody being cut short in the prime of their life. And we all know folks that, like Heath Ledger recently, or Corey Monteith of the Glee show recently. We all know folks that have lost their lives early, that have been cut short early for whatever reason. Maybe even have friends. I've got friends, I've got people, I've been in waiting rooms, I've been in ICUs when people were passing away, dying, because of something that had happened. Their life had been cut short. People my age, people your age, whoever's watching this. And we've all got friends whose lives were cut short in the prime of their life. And so I want to talk to you about a song that was actually kind of written twice. It was performed twice. It was set out there twice. It's really interesting. In 1974, it reached number 1 on the UK charts. Not number 1, number 11 on the UK charts. It didn't even go to number 1. It reached number 11. It was about a lady named Norma Jean, who made 25 films in 15 years. 25 films in 15 years. In fact, she was in the spotlight for 17 years before she passed away, presumably through a drug overdose, and she was 36 years old. She died at the age of 36 years old, and she'd accomplished all this stuff. And so these folks, these two guys got together and hey, we're going to write a song about this girl named Norma Jean, and we're just going to put it out there for the world to hear. We're going to billboard that message about her to the world. Now I want you to fast forward 1974. I want you to fast forward to 1997. One of the original writers and the artist who performed it rewrote the song, and it hit number 1 in Australia, it hit number 1 in Germany, it hit number 1 in Japan, it hit number 1 in all around the world, and then it debuted at number 1 on the Billboard charts. Debuted. Immediately, the song comes out, boom, it's number 1 on the Billboard charts. It was huge. It was a smash. And it stayed at number 1 for 14 weeks. It sold, get this, it sold 10 million copies of this song within 3 weeks, in less than 3 weeks. There's only 3 other artists to have ever sold a single that have sold that many copies. It's what we call diamond certified by the RIAA. It's the recording industry. It's like a benchmark. And they said that there's only 3 other artists who have ever done that. And I don't know if you'd ever guess it. I mean, could you guess who? They're recent people. Justin Bieber with his song Baby. Baby, baby, baby. Anyway, I can't sing. Whatever. I'm not going to do it again. There's another guy named Eminem, and he did a collaboration with a girl named Rihanna in a song called Love the Way You Lie. And then there was a lady named Lady Gaga, and she came out with a song Bad Romance. Like, those were the only 3 songs besides this song here I'm about to reveal the name of to you in just a moment, if you haven't guessed it already. Those are the only 3 artists ever to have sold that many copies of a particular song ever. It's what we call diamond certified. And it took them like 2 to 3 years to sell that many copies of those songs. But this guy, he sold 10 million copies in less than 3 weeks. So in order for that to happen, like, it had to be a powerful message, right? It had to be something like billboarded powerfully to the world, that the world would say, you know, I need that song. And then 1977, that was before iTunes, that was before Rhapsody, that was before you could buy these songs digitally. Like, you had to like go and physically buy this copy of this song. Like, what could have done that? What song could have done that? This song here is about a woman who inspired an entire country to live. Like, she worked with elderly people. She helped with leprosy. She helped with homelessness. She helped with AIDS patients. She even like spearheaded a project that eventually got a Nobel Prize shortly after her death. She died due to a car crash at the age of 36, just like Norma Jean, at the age of 36. And her name is Princess Diana. Now, originally, this song had 2 writers. There's Bernie Taupin and a guy named Elton John. Elton John rewrote a few of the lyrics, and he played this new version at Princess Diana's funeral as the world watched. And so I want to read you a few of those lyrics. He says, "And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain sets in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will." Like, the teaching, the empty room session, the Billboard message right now that you're listening to, that you're watching, it's about life. It's about death. It's about being truly alive with energy coursing through your veins and where your dreams just take flight, or it's about you being dead, about you living a boring, mundane life, a lifeless existence, a life that is shut down. You're wasting your life. That's what we're looking at for these next few moments. And we start here in Philippians chapter 3. And it's towards the end of the Bible, Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. Paul says this. He says, "My goal is..." I want you to fill in that blank. Like, if I weren't to read anything else, if Paul didn't put anything else there, like, my goal is blank. Like, he could have said, hey, my goal is the Philippian church, because I really care about the Philippian church. I really care about you guys. I wanted to be there. I want to help you out. I pray for you daily. I agonize over you. Like, I really care about you. So my goal is the Philippian church. And Paul could have said that right here right there in Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. He could have said, my goal is you, Philippian church, because I care about you as a people, as a unified body. I care about you. He could have said that. Paul even could have said, hey, my goal is myself. My goal is my personal agenda. Verses 5 and 6, we go back. He says, I was circumcised the 8th day. That's an interesting topic for another day. I'm of the nation of Israel. I'm of the tribe of Benjamin. I'm a Hebrew born of Hebrews. As to the law, a Pharisee. As to zeal, persecuting the church. As to the righteousness that is in the law, dude, I'm blameless. Like, Paul could have said, my goal is myself. My goal is my agenda. My goal is me. And we do that all the time, don't we? We're like, we could say, hey, like my goal is me. My goal in life is me. Like what is important in life is myself and what I want and what I expect and my needs and my wants and my personality, my goals and my dreams. Like I just want to pursue everything about me. And so everything that I send is about me. And everything that I think is about me. My money I spend on myself. The stuff that I want is about me. Like we could say that, and some of you, we probably do struggle with that. And Paul could have said, hey, my goal is me. Like a lot of us, my goal is me. Kind of reminds me when I was a senior in high school. I was that guy who went to church, but I wasn't really into church at that moment. I was kind of like I kind of started making life about me. So I remember one time our youth minister, he brought us to a bowling alley, or he said, hey, we're going to the bowling alley, and I was cool. So I'm like, dude, I'm gonna drive my 1999 Nissan Sentra with tinted windows, and I'm gonna drive with my sound system, which was actually like a stock sound system. So could you imagine, like I blew speakers all the time, like I'd crank it up, and I'd be like, yeah, dude, I'm thumping. And like people are like, man, you got like an amplifier and like cool speakers? Nah, dude, this is stock. And like it'd blow up my speakers all the time. I was not cool at all. And like I remember saying, hey, Brother Kevin, I'm gonna drive myself to the bowling alley, 40 minutes away. Believe that? And so like I remember driving there, and on the way back, Brother Kevin was like, hey, listen, James, I need you to drive some students back because some students showed up and they didn't come with us and we don't have any more room, so I need you to drive them back. And the problem was, I'm like, yeah, dude, that's cool. I'm down with that. I'm a senior. I'm gonna do it. My problem was though, that my senior year of high school, life was about me. It was about my money. It was about my expectations. It was about my friends. It was about my feelings. Like, and when I say my friends, I mean like my friends like do what I want to do, what we want to do, what we want to accomplish in life. I mean, even at church, I found myself like living recklessly. So here it is, like I'm in this car and we're driving back to the church, and I put 3 other students that are younger than me in danger. I'm reckless. Because I thought, for some reason, I had this weird thought in my brain that, you know what? God has a mission for me, and he's not going to take me out of this planet. He's not going to take me off this planet. He wouldn't let something happen to me. So I was speeding. And I'm not talking like, hey, the speed limit is 70, I'm going to 75. I'm talking reckless endangerment kind of speeding. I was going. And sure enough, reckless endangerment, speeding kind of going. Some blue lights come on the interstate on I-10, and so I have to pull over. And like I remember this energy coursing through my veins. It wasn't energy. Like all of a sudden, like I'm starting to feel tingly and numb. I was going in shock. I'm like, oh my goodness. I may have said a couple curse words there. And again, thinking about myself, oh man, I'm in trouble. Not, oh man, I could have gotten these kids endangered or killed. But no, I'm thinking, hey, I'm in trouble. And so I'm pulled over. The officer gives me a ticket, a nice ticket, by the way. And like, so I make it to church, and Brother Kevin's like, hey dude, was that your car I saw pulled off on the side of the road? That was my car. What were you doing? I was speeding. I was being reckless. I mean, I didn't have it. When he was like, why did you do that? I didn't have an answer except like, I didn't think it was dangerous. Like our goals in life, like my goal as a senior in high school was me. Like when Paul says my goal is, if I was reading that, my goal is me. And if my goal is me, I may have already tuned this message out. And like, so I hope that you're still with me. And I hope you're sticking with it, because like I was where you are now. And like my goal was myself and what I could get out of life. Nothing in life was about anything except for me. And so many students die every year due to like car crashes. Like I lived in a community for a while where it seemed like every few months another student passed away due to a car crash. And that was the norm of life where I lived. And that was a sad norm, but it happened. Or maybe students died due to overdose. Or maybe there's even this life crash, and maybe you're experiencing this life crash now, like where you are not married and you get pregnant and you're like, dude, my life is over. Or maybe there's a circumstance that happened to you, or maybe a circumstance that happened around you, and you're like, dude, I feel crippled. I feel crippled and I don't feel like I can live. I don't feel like I can truly be alive. And so you go about life merely existing. Like you're numb and you feel like you're just going through life merely existing. You're like, this happened, my parents got divorced. And so now all of a sudden, like, I don't feel like I can live. I feel like what little life I do have, the little existence I do have, I have to like make it about me and pleasing myself and overcoming this numbness, coding this numbness that I feel, this problem that I feel. And we do that. And for all intents and purposes, you're dead. You're crippled. You're a candle in the wind with so much life ahead of you. Me-centered living isn't living at all. It's a setup to fail. Verse 8, he says, more than that, I also consider everything to be loss. Because of Jesus, I have suffered the loss of all things and consider all things filth or all things rubbish. Nothing else matters in life, Paul says, except for one thing, that I may gain Christ. And we go back to verse 10. He says, my goal is what? My goal is to know him. My goal is to know Jesus and the power of him coming back to life. Like my goal is to truly be alive and not existing and just being dead and just walking through life and having that boring life. You know, I wake up, I brush my teeth, I go to the bathroom, I go to school, I sleep through school, I wake up, I do my test, I regurgitate what I just studied like the last class before, I make a B, maybe an A if I'm lucky, I get home, I take a nap, I wake up, I'm like, dude, I need to eat now. I eat and then I go back to bed. And then I wake up and then I brush my teeth and I get ready for school and then I go to school and I sleep through school. Like Paul's like, no. Your life isn't supposed to be just boring and mundane and lifeless, just going through the motions of life, just merely existing and being dead. No. Your life is to know him and to make Jesus known, to know him, the power of living. My goal, my deep desire, my passion is to know Christ in a life-changing and life-shaping way. In fact, life isn't about me. Life is more than existing. It could be summed up in this. Like, here's the sticky statement. Here's the idea. You were brought to life to live. Like, you were brought to life to live. Like, you were brought to life to be alive. Philippians chapter 3 verse 12 says, not that I've already reached the goal or am fully mature, but I make every effort to take hold of it because I also have been taken hold of by Christ Jesus. I make every effort because I have been taken hold of by Christ. Like Christ set me free, Paul says. Like Christ set me free from this dead, boring, lifeless, mundane life. Christ set me free from that. Christ reached down into the depths of deadness, not so you'd waste time on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or on Call of Duty or on video games or on vain pursuits. Christ reached into the depths, not so you'd waste your life, but so you could truly be alive. And in verse 13, he continues, says, brothers, I don't consider myself to have taken hold of it. I haven't taken hold of it, of this goal of living for Christ. No, not that goal. He's like, I haven't taken hold of this goal of living again. Paul understood something that we often forget. He says that we weren't just meant to live, but we were meant to live forever. Like we're not just meant to live YOLO here on this planet once, but we're meant to live forever. When we die on this planet, we're going to live forever. You're going to spend eternity forever somewhere. And Paul's like, I don't want to just live and be dead. I don't want to be dead forever. I don't want to just be like in the ground and then like suffering forever in hell, separated from this God who created me and loved me. No. I want to be truly alive forever with this guy Jesus and with God because of the power of the Spirit. That's where I want to be. I want to be truly alive forever. Like, this is not the end. And here's the big problem is that YOLO drives good people to deadly decisions. YOLO, deadly, disastrous decisions, life-draining decisions. He says, I haven't attained that goal, but, verses 12 and 13, he says, I make every effort. I make every effort to take hold of it. Like, do what it takes to live for Christ. Like, you need to do what it takes to live for Jesus, not merely exist for yourself. Like, what does that look like? Like, maybe you need to make a shift in your priorities. Like, what is important to you? What is number one? What is number two? What is number three? You need to shift your priorities. And for some of you watching, that's going to mean like your whole life changes. Your whole existence changes, and stuff that used to be important, you consider them rubbish, like Paul says. And the things that you didn't consider important, like Jesus, like they become tantamount. They become paramount. They become like hugely important to what you want to do and who you want to be. Maybe that means you need to change your terminology. Like when I was in high school, like the longer I was in high school, the more my terminology changed into like cuss words and like words that put people down and gossip, like we talked about in the last session. Like, and my stuff wasn't good. Maybe you need to change your terminology, your vocabulary, maybe your actions, maybe even the way you orient your day needs to change. And it doesn't like you wake up, you get your phone and you look at Facebook. Maybe now you need to wake up, you turn over and like your Bible's already open to where you're going to read for that morning. How cool is that? And then he says, but this thing I do. But one thing I do in verse 13, but one thing I do, like I've got a laser focus. I've got one thing I do. I've got a laser focus on Christ, on living for Christ. I have a laser focus on the future. I'm not just living here, but living forever. I have this laser focus on that. And so like everything I do with life is centered on this one thing that I do. What lies ahead, forgetting what is behind and reaching forward. I'm forgetting about that stuff and I'm reaching forward. I'm lasering focus on life, not existence, on excellence, not satisfaction. It's not just I just want satisfaction because I can't get no satisfaction. I want excellence with my life. I want a better future. I don't want the status quo. And it's going to cost you. Because he says here, in reaching forward. Now, when you reach forward, you are stretching, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to pull stuff, and things are going to get ripped. When you really stretch, things are going to rip. You might even start to get some stretch marks going on, because those are some marks that folks are going to be like, hey, that dude was using some stuff. That dude was stretching some things. Paul says that living stretches you. It gives you wrinkles. It gives you stress fractures. It gives you stretch marks. And then he says here in verse 14, he says, I pursue as my goal the prize promised as God, promised by God's heavenly call in Jesus. That's the future. That's the future. You have you watching this, you listening to this, you have so much to offer in life. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever be that candle in the wind. If it's up to you, don't ever give up. Don't ever be reckless. Don't ever fill yourself with drugs. Don't ever drive recklessly. Don't ever give up. Stretch and reach and have that laser focus because you were brought to life to live. And so here's your question I want to leave you with today. What effort do you need to make to truly be alive? What effort do you need to make to truly be alive? Hey, thanks for joining me here on the Empty Room Sessions. This was session 4 of Billboard, The Candle in the Wind. And if you want to engage me in conversation, go to twitter.com/James Reardon. Hey, thanks and have a great day.